Hi everyone, I'm the author of this channel, and I'd like to talk to you about a very interesting topic. The habit that changes a person's financial future is almost never the one people notice. Nobody applauds it, nobody records it, nobody posts about it, and yet it quietly separates two people who may earn the same income, live in the same city, and wake up under the same sky. One slowly builds freedom, the other slowly builds pressure. The difference is invisible at first. That is why so many people miss it. The world trains your eyes to look for visible success. The car, the house, the watch, the vacation photo, the promotion announcement, the public celebration, but wealth is rarely created where people are looking. It is created in places nobody sees, in decisions made when no audience exists, in moments that feel too small to matter, in habits repeated so quietly that even the person performing them may not realize they are building a fortune. And that is what this audiobook is about. Welcome to the Millionaire Habits. In this audiobook, you will discover the hidden patterns that quietly shape financial success long before money appears. You will learn why some habits compound into freedom while others compound into stress. You will learn how wealthy thinkers manage attention, emotions, time, relationships, opportunities, and risk. Most importantly, you will discover that becoming wealthy is often less about what you earn and more about who you become. This audiobook is educational and motivational in nature. It is not financial advice. It is an exploration of mindset, behavior, discipline, awareness, and long-term thinking. Over the next 15 chapters, we will walk through habits that rarely make headlines, but repeatedly show up behind extraordinary results. Because here's the truth few people say out loud: the millionaire habit is not making money. The millionaire habit is becoming the kind of person money trusts. Remember that line. The millionaire habit is becoming the kind of person money trusts. And our journey begins with a habit so simple that most people dismiss it completely. The habit of being alone with your thoughts. Chapter 1. The Quiet Room. One of the most expensive mistakes in modern life is the inability to sit quietly. That may sound strange. After all, what does silence have to do with wealth? Everything. Look around at the average day. Notifications arrive before breakfast. Messages compete for attention. Videos play endlessly. Opinions flood every screen. People consume information from morning until midnight. Yet very few spend meaningful time listening to themselves. The problem is not information. The problem is noise. Noise creates confusion. Confusion creates reaction. Reaction creates poor decisions. And poor decisions, repeated for years, become expensive lives. The people who quietly build wealth often share an unusual trait. They create space between stimulus and response. Before they buy, they think. Before they react, they pause. Before they follow a trend, they question it. Before they say yes, they examine the cost. That space changes everything. A young professional once received his first significant raise. Within weeks, he upgraded nearly everything: a more expensive apartment, a newer car, higher monthly payments, nicer restaurants. Nothing seemed reckless individually, yet 6 months later, he felt poorer than before the raise. The money increased. Freedom decreased. Why? Because excitement made the decision. Not reflection, not awareness, not silence. The quiet room could have saved him thousands. Not a physical room necessarily, a mental room. A place where questions live. Do I actually want this? Will this improve my life 6 months from now? Am I buying value Or am I buying a feeling? Am I solving a problem or feeding an impulse? These questions sound simple, but simple questions asked consistently produce extraordinary outcomes. The modern world profits when you do not pause. Entire industries depend on urgency. Buy now, act now, limited offer, last chance. Fear of missing out has become one of the most expensive emotions on earth. Millionaire habits often begin by refusing to rush, not because wealthy people move slowly, because they understand speed and urgency are different things. Urgency is emotional. Speed is intentional. One is panic. The other is precision. Think about a pilot preparing for takeoff. The passengers may feel impatient. The checklist still happens. The preparation still happens. The verification still happens. Because avoiding one mistake matters more than saving a few minutes. The same principle applies to life. Many people spend years recovering from decisions made in minutes. A relationship chosen too quickly, a purchase made emotionally, a business partnership accepted without thought, a loan signed without understanding, a commitment made under pressure. Silence prevents expensive mistakes, and preventing mistakes is one of the fastest ways to build wealth. That lesson rarely appears in motivational content. People want to hear how to earn more. Fewer people want to hear how to lose less. But wealth often grows through preservation before expansion. The first $1 million in freedom is frequently created by avoiding disasters, avoiding debt traps, avoiding ego purchases, avoiding emotional decisions, avoiding the pressure to impress strangers. If this idea resonates with you, take a moment sometime today and think about the most valuable financial lesson you've learned in life. I'd genuinely love to know what experience taught you the most. Sometimes, a painful mistake becomes the teacher that changes everything. Now imagine a different scenario. A woman spends 20 minutes every evening alone with a notebook. No fancy system, no complicated strategy, just questions. What went well today? What drained my energy? What opportunity did I overlook? What decision am I avoiding? Where did my money go? Where did my attention go? Months pass. Then years. The notebook fills. Patterns emerge. Self-awareness grows. Her life begins changing in ways outsiders barely notice. Because awareness always arrives before transformation. Always. People often think successful individuals possess extraordinary discipline. Sometimes they do. But what appears as discipline is often awareness. You notice what hurts you. You notice what helps you. You notice what matters. And once you truly notice something, change becomes easier. The quiet room creates awareness. The awareness creates clarity. The clarity creates better decisions. The better decisions create better outcomes. And eventually, those outcomes appear to others as luck. But luck was never the whole story. There was a room nobody saw, a room filled with reflection, a room filled with questions, a room filled with honesty. That room quietly changed everything. The first millionaire habit nobody sees is not investing. It is not networking. It is not entrepreneurship. It is not productivity. It is the habit of creating enough silence to hear your own life clearly. Because a distracted mind spends differently, chooses differently, lives differently, and the person who masters attention eventually masters much more than attention. They begin to master direction, and direction is where wealth truly begins. Because in the next chapter, we are going to uncover another hidden millionaire habit, a habit that looks insignificant in a single day, but becomes almost unstoppable over 10 years. A habit so small that most people ignore it until they discover that tiny daily choices have been quietly deciding their future all along. We're so glad you decided to watch our video. We're also really curious to know which cities around the world are watching our videos. Could you let us know which city, or at least which country, you're from? We always read every comment under our videos carefully. Thank you. Chapter 2. The Power of Tiny Financial Decisions. A person's future is rarely destroyed by one dramatic mistake. More often, it is quietly shaped by hundreds of tiny decisions nobody remembers making. That truth is uncomfortable because it removes the fantasy of sudden transformation. Most people want a breakthrough. Life usually offers accumulation. The wealthy understand something that the average person often learns too late. Small actions are not small when they happen every day. A single drop of water seems harmless, yet over time, drops carve stone. A single degree seems insignificant, yet 1 degree changes the direction of an entire flight. A single choice appears meaningless, yet repeated choices become identity, and identity becomes destiny. The hidden millionaire habit is understanding that every financial decision casts a vote for the future version of yourself. Not a dramatic vote, a quiet one. The problem is that quiet votes are easy to ignore. One unnecessary subscription, one impulse purchase, one expensive attempt to impress people, one night of emotional spending, one forgotten payment. None of these seem important individually, but wealth rarely measures individual moments. Wealth measures patterns. Imagine 2 people. Both earn similar incomes. Both possess similar intelligence. Both start from roughly the same position. The first person constantly asks a simple question. Will this purchase improve my future or merely entertain my present? The second person rarely asks that question. Years pass. Neither notices much difference initially. The gap appears tiny. Then the gap widens. Then it accelerates. Then one person wonders why life feels easier for the other. The answer was never hidden. The answer was repeated. This is one of the least exciting truths about wealth. Consistency beats intensity. Again and again. People admire dramatic effort. Life rewards sustained effort. That principle applies to money just as much as it applies to health, relationships, and personal growth. You do not become financially strong because of one perfect month. You become financially strong because of hundreds of ordinary months. Months when nobody congratulates you. Months when progress feels invisible. Months when discipline feels boring, especially those months. Because boredom is where most people quit. And boredom is where many fortunes are quietly built. Think about physical fitness for a moment. Nobody exercises once and expects permanent results. Nobody reads one book and expects lifelong wisdom. Nobody plants a tree and expects shade tomorrow. Yet many people expect financial success to happen quickly. When it doesn't, they become frustrated. They abandon the process. They chase shortcuts. They chase trends. They chase excitement. Meanwhile, someone else continues doing small things exceptionally well, saving consistently, learning consistently, investing consistently, thinking consistently, improving consistently, not because it feels exciting, because it works. The most dangerous financial habit is not spending money. The most dangerous financial habit is believing small decisions do not matter. Because that belief creates carelessness. Carelessness creates leaks. And enough leaks can sink even a large ship. A wealthy entrepreneur once shared an observation that stayed with me. He said he never became wealthy because of a few giant decisions. He became wealthy because he stopped making thousands of unnecessary ones. Think about that. Not because of what he added, because of what he removed. Distraction, impulse, ego, waste, reaction. Many people attempt to increase income while simultaneously expanding waste. It becomes a race they never win. More income arrives, more expenses arrive, more pressure arrives. The finish line keeps moving. This is why some people earn impressive salaries and still feel trapped. Money alone does not create freedom. Margin creates freedom. Space creates freedom. Options create freedom. And those things are built through tiny decisions repeated over time. There is another layer to this lesson, a deeper one. Small decisions affect more than money. They affect self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, something valuable happens internally. You trust yourself more. Every time you break a promise to yourself, something valuable weakens. You trust yourself less. The numbers in your bank account matter, but the relationship you build with yourself matters too, because eventually financial success requires self-trust. You must trust yourself to stay patient. Trust yourself to stay disciplined. Trust yourself to stay focused when distractions appear. That trust is built through tiny daily victories. A decision to read instead of scroll. A decision to learn instead of complain. A decision to prepare instead of procrastinate. A decision to save instead of impress. Tiny votes, cast daily, building a future nobody sees yet. The irony is fascinating. People often underestimate the power of small positive decisions, yet they understand the power of small negative decisions immediately. Nobody is surprised when poor habits create poor outcomes, but many are surprised when excellent habits create extraordinary outcomes. Perhaps because positive compounding feels slower. At first, the first year looks modest. The second year looks ordinary. The third year feels incremental. Then something changes. Momentum appears. Confidence appears. Results appear. Suddenly people call it success. They rarely see the years of invisible accumulation underneath. A bamboo tree spends years growing roots before it rises dramatically above the ground. To an observer, growth seems sudden. It isn't. The visible growth was supported by invisible preparation. The same is true for wealth. What appears sudden is often years in the making. Years of choices nobody applauded, years of habits nobody noticed, years of discipline nobody celebrated. That is why millionaire habits are often invisible. The visible reward arrives later, much later. If these words resonate with you, consider making a small promise to yourself today. Not a huge one, not an overwhelming one. A small promise you know you can keep. Then keep it. That single act may be worth more than you realize because self-respect grows one promise at a time. Now let's explore another truth that becomes increasingly important in the modern world. A truth about attention. Because there is a hidden connection between wealth and focus that very few people fully understand. In a world where everyone is fighting for your attention, your ability to protect it may become one of your most valuable financial assets. And in the next chapter, we are going to discover why the richest people often guard their attention more fiercely than their money. Because once attention is lost, something even more valuable disappears with it. Time. And time compounds faster than money ever will. Chapter 3. Attention is the new currency. There was a time when land was power, then information became power. Today, attention has become one of the most valuable assets on earth, not because attention itself creates wealth, because attention determines where wealth can grow. Every result in your life begins with something receiving your attention: your career, your health, your relationships, your finances, your skills, your habits. Whatever receives sustained attention eventually changes. Whatever is neglected eventually declines. The hidden millionaire understands this long before money arrives. They realize that attention is not merely focus. Attention is direction, and direction shapes destiny. Look closely at the modern world. Thousands of companies compete every second for one thing: your eyes, your thoughts, your focus, your emotional energy. Entire industries spend billions trying to capture a few extra minutes of your attention because they understand something many people still overlook. Attention eventually becomes behavior. Behavior eventually becomes outcomes. If someone can control your attention, they can often influence your decisions. And if enough decisions are influenced, your future changes quietly, gradually, almost invisibly. This is why one of the least discussed millionaire habits is protecting mental bandwidth. Not protecting money, protecting attention. Because money lost can often be earned again. Time and attention rarely return. Imagine waking up tomorrow with $10 million. Most people assume that would solve every problem. But imagine also having no ability to focus, no ability to think deeply, no ability to concentrate, no ability to learn, no ability to direct your mind intentionally. How long would the money last? Probably not as long as people think, because wealth requires stewardship. Stewardship requires awareness. Awareness requires attention. Everything connects. The truly successful understand that their greatest investments are not always financial. Many are mental. A distracted person can sabotage extraordinary opportunities. A focused person can transform ordinary opportunities. That difference matters a great deal. There is a story repeated in different forms throughout history. Two individuals receive similar opportunities. One notices them, the other misses them. Not because of intelligence, not because of talent, because one was paying attention. The opportunity appeared quietly, and only one person was mentally present enough to see it. This happens every day. A conversation introduces an idea. A book reveals a solution. A mentor shares wisdom. A trend emerges early. A skill becomes valuable. A problem reveals a business opportunity. Most opportunities whisper before they shout. Distracted people rarely hear whispers. Focused people do. That is why attention creates leverage. It helps you notice what others overlook. One of the most expensive habits in modern life is constant stimulation. The inability to sit without consuming something: music, videos, messages, news, content, entertainment, noise. Many people have become uncomfortable with silence, yet silence often contains answers. Some of the best decisions are made during walks, during reflection, during stillness, during moments when the mind finally has room to think. The wealthiest individuals are often not the busiest thinkers. They are frequently the clearest thinkers. There is a difference. Busy thinking feels productive. Clear thinking produces results. One creates motion. The other creates progress. A person may spend 12 hours consumed by information and still gain very little wisdom. Another may spend 30 focused minutes reflecting deeply and gain tremendous clarity. Quantity of information does not guarantee quality of thought. In fact, the opposite is often true. Too much information creates paralysis. Too many opinions create uncertainty. Too much noise weakens intuition. The hidden millionaire habit is filtering, not consuming everything, selecting carefully. Think about what happens when sunlight passes through a magnifying glass. Scattered light warms. Focused light ignites. Human attention works similarly. Scattered attention creates activity. Focused attention creates transformation. The question becomes simple. Where is your attention going? Not where do you want it to go. Not where you claim it goes. Where does it actually go? The answer reveals more about your future than most people realize. Attention leaves clues. Look at a person's calendar. Look at their screen time. Look at their conversations. Look at their habits. You begin seeing their future taking shape, not perfectly, but clearly enough. Because attention always tells the truth. A fascinating thing happens when people begin protecting their attention. Life feels slower, not because time changes, because awareness increases. Moments become richer, thinking becomes sharper, decisions become cleaner, energy becomes more intentional. Suddenly, opportunities seem easier to notice. Learning accelerates, relationships improve, work quality improves, financial judgment improves. Everything begins benefiting from the same source, focused awareness. This is one reason why many wealthy individuals schedule thinking time. At first glance, it seems strange. Why schedule thinking? Because important thoughts rarely appear during chaos. They appear when space exists. Space has become rare, and rare things often become valuable. The ability to think deeply may become one of the greatest competitive advantages of this century, especially in an age where distraction is available 24 hours a day. Perhaps the most dangerous phrase in modern life is this: I'm just checking for a minute. A minute becomes 10, 10 becomes 30, 30 becomes an hour becomes a habit becomes a lifestyle becomes a future. Everything compounds, including distraction. This is why attention must be treated with respect. Every day you are investing it somewhere. The question is whether the return justifies the cost. Some investments produce knowledge. Others produce anxiety. Some produce growth. Others produce comparison. Some produce opportunity. Others produce exhaustion. Attention is always being spent. Choose carefully. If you're listening right now and this chapter speaks to you, take a moment later today and ask yourself one honest question. What currently receives too much of my attention and too little of my return? That single question can uncover a surprising amount about your life. Now, there is another hidden habit that separates those who quietly build wealth from those who remain trapped in cycles of stress. It has nothing to do with intelligence, nothing to do with education, nothing to do with luck. It has everything to do with emotional control, because one emotional reaction can destroy what years of discipline created. And the people who understand this become remarkably difficult to defeat. In the next chapter, we explore why emotional stability may be one of the most underrated millionaire habits nobody sees. Because fortunes are not only built by good decisions, they are protected by calm ones. Dear viewer, we would really be grateful if you could share your ideas on how we can improve our videos in the comments. Thank you very much. Chapter 4. The Wealth of Emotional Control. A surprising number of financial mistakes are not caused by a lack of knowledge. They are caused by a lack of emotional control. People know they should save. They know they should think long-term. They know they should avoid unnecessary debt. They know they should be patient. The problem is rarely information. The problem is emotion. Fear makes people sell too soon. Excitement makes people buy too soon. Ego makes people spend too much. Pride prevents people from learning. Envy pushes people into lifestyles they can. Every person encounters storms. Financial storms. Professional storms. Personal storms. The question is never whether challenges will arrive. The question is who you become when they do. The hidden millionaire habit is refusing to let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. That sounds simple. It isn't. Because emotions feel convincing, very convincing. Fear can make a temporary problem feel permanent. Excitement can make a bad idea feel brilliant. Anger can make a foolish action feel justified. That is why emotionally disciplined people often appear slower, not because they are hesitant, because they understand the cost of reaction. They allow emotions to settle before making important choices. They create space. Space creates clarity. Clarity creates better outcomes. One of the most powerful financial skills is learning to separate feelings from facts. Not ignoring feelings, understanding them. There is a difference. Feelings contain information. They should not always control decisions. Imagine receiving unexpected criticism at work. Emotion immediately wants a response, a quick message, a defensive explanation, a reaction. But a calmer version of yourself may see something different, a lesson, an opportunity, a misunderstanding that can be resolved, a chance to improve. The same event, different interpretation, different outcome. This ability becomes increasingly valuable as success grows, because greater opportunities often bring greater emotional pressure, larger decisions, larger responsibilities, larger risks, larger consequences. People assume wealth removes stress. It often changes the nature of stress. The person who cannot manage emotions with a little money usually struggles to manage emotions with a lot of money, because money amplifies character. It reveals habits that already existed. A person who constantly seeks validation may spend more as income increases. A person who lacks patience may chase larger risks. A person who fears uncertainty may miss opportunities. The internal patterns remain. Only the numbers become bigger. That is why the inner game matters. Perhaps more than people realize. There is an image I often return to. Imagine two fires. One burns wildly, the other burns steadily. The wildfire creates excitement. The steady fire creates warmth. One consumes itself quickly, the other lasts through the night. Many people live emotionally like the wildfire. High highs, low lows, constant reaction, constant volatility, constant turbulence. The quiet millionaire often resembles the steady fire, not emotionless, stable, grounded, deliberate, reliable. There is enormous strength in that kind of stability, especially today, because modern culture often rewards immediate reaction. Respond instantly, comment instantly, judge instantly, react instantly. Yet some of the best decisions require patience, reflection, distance, perspective, the ability to wait. Waiting is uncomfortable for many people, but waiting often reveals truth. A problem that feels overwhelming today may look manageable tomorrow. An opportunity that feels urgent today may appear risky next week. A disagreement that feels permanent today may disappear with one conversation. Time has a way of exposing reality. Emotional control allows you to benefit from that reality. One habit practiced by many successful people is remarkably simple. When strong emotions appear, They delay important decisions, not forever, long enough for clarity to return. That single habit prevents countless mistakes. Think about how many regrets begin with the phrase, "I wasn't thinking." Usually people were thinking. They were simply feeling louder than they were thinking. The feeling dominated the decision, and the decision created consequences. Millionaire habits often involve reducing unnecessary consequences, protecting progress, preserving momentum, guarding what has already been built. Emotional control does exactly that. It protects not only money, energy, relationships, reputation, focus, time, all of which eventually influence wealth. There is another side to emotional control that receives less attention: resilience, the ability to recover. Every successful person experiences disappointment, every single one. Rejected ideas, failed investments, lost opportunities, unexpected setbacks, moments of self-doubt, periods of uncertainty. The difference is not avoiding disappointment. The difference is recovering from it. Some people stay emotionally trapped by failure. Others learn from it, adjust, adapt, move forward. That ability creates tremendous long-term advantage because life rewards persistence far more often than perfection. A person who learns from 10 mistakes usually outperforms a person terrified of making one. The goal is not emotional perfection. The goal is emotional mastery. Understanding your emotions well enough that they serve you instead of controlling you. If this chapter resonates with you, consider sharing in the comments one challenge that taught you emotional strength. Often, the hardest seasons become the chapters we later realize shaped us most deeply. Now, emotional control protects wealth, but another hidden habit helps create it. A habit almost invisible from the outside. A habit that rarely feels exciting. Yet its impact becomes astonishing over decades. It is the habit of delayed gratification. The ability to sacrifice a smaller reward today for a greater reward tomorrow. Most people understand the concept. Few truly appreciate its power because what looks like sacrifice in the present often becomes freedom in the future. And in the next chapter, we will explore why the wealthiest lives are often built by people who learned to wait when everyone else rushed. Because patience is not passive. Patience is a strategy, and its rewards are far greater than most people imagine. Chapter 5. The Habit of Waiting. One of the strangest truths about wealth is that the people who build it most effectively often look from the outside like they are moving slower than everyone else. While others rush, they pause. While others chase, they evaluate. While others react, they consider. And because of that, they frequently arrive somewhere extraordinary. The millionaire habit nobody sees is patience. Not passive patience, not waiting for life to happen. Strategic patience, intentional patience, the ability to delay immediate pleasure in exchange for greater freedom later. This habit sounds simple, yet it quietly influences nearly every area of life. Relationships, careers, business decisions, investments, health, personal growth. The people who consistently win over long periods often possess an unusual relationship with time. They trust it. Most people don't. Most people want results immediately. They want proof immediately. They want rewards immediately. And when those rewards fail to arrive, discouragement appears. That discouragement causes abandonment. The process ends before the result has a chance to emerge. Imagine planting an orchard. The first season looks disappointing. No fruit, The second season still requires patience. The third season demands continued care. To someone seeking instant rewards, the orchard appears foolish. To someone thinking 20 years ahead, it appears brilliant. Life constantly presents this choice: consume now or build now. Impress now or invest now. Feel rich now or become rich later. The challenge is that immediate rewards are visible. Future rewards are invisible. Human beings naturally gravitate toward what they can see. That tendency creates enormous opportunity for those willing to think differently. Consider how many people increase their income and immediately increase their expenses. A larger paycheck arrives, a larger lifestyle follows. The reward is immediate. The pleasure is immediate. The validation is immediate. But so is the trap, because every lifestyle expansion creates obligations, and obligations reduce flexibility. The hidden millionaire habit is resisting the urge to upgrade every time life improves, not because comfort is wrong, because freedom is valuable, very valuable. Freedom often looks boring at first. An emergency fund looks boring. A growing investment account looks boring. A paid-off debt looks boring. A strong financial foundation looks boring, until a crisis arrives. Then suddenly boring becomes beautiful. The ability to handle unexpected challenges calmly is one of the greatest luxuries money can buy. Yet that luxury is usually built through delayed gratification. Months, years, sometimes decades of choices nobody notices. There is a fascinating experiment that has become famous over the years. Children are offered a small reward immediately or a larger reward if they wait. Some take the immediate reward, others wait. The lesson extends far beyond childhood. Adult life presents the same challenge repeatedly. The rewards simply become more sophisticated. Should I spend this money now or invest it? Should I buy this status symbol or purchase future freedom? Should I chase excitement or build stability? Should I seek applause or seek progress? The questions change. The principle remains. Those who consistently choose long-term rewards often create extraordinary outcomes, not overnight. Eventually. That word matters. Eventually. Many people abandon good decisions because they underestimate how long meaningful results require. A person exercises for 2 weeks and expects transformation. A person saves for 3 months and expects wealth. A person starts a business and expects immediate success. Reality rarely works that way. The most powerful forms of growth are often invisible at first. Roots grow before branches. Foundations appear before skyscrapers. Character develops before achievement. The hidden millionaire understands this deeply. They are willing to look unsuccessful temporarily. That is a rare skill. Very rare. Because modern culture encourages performance, appears successful, looks successful, signals success, displays success. But actual success often requires a season where very little appears impressive from the outside. The entrepreneur working late while friends celebrate. The investor quietly contributing every month. The student learning skills nobody values yet. The creator producing work before recognition arrives. The parent making sacrifices for future opportunities. The professional building expertise before promotions appear. From the outside, the rewards seem absent. Internally, something powerful is happening. Compounding. Compounding is one of the most important concepts in wealth. Not only financially, emotionally, mentally, professionally, every positive habit compounds. Every negative habit compounds. The challenge is that compounding feels insignificant in the beginning, then remarkable later. A person who reads 10 pages a day may feel no different after a week. Years later, their thinking has transformed. A person who saves modestly may feel little progress initially. Years later, they possess options others do not. A person who develops one valuable skill may seem ordinary at first. Years later, opportunities multiply. Compounding rewards patience. And patience rewards vision. You must see beyond today, beyond this week, beyond this year. One reason many people struggle financially is not a lack of effort. It is a lack of time horizon. They think in weeks. Wealth often thinks in decades. The wealthy habit is asking different questions. Not how much can I gain today? What can I build over 10 years? Not what feels good right now. What creates freedom later? Not how do I look successful? How do I become successful? Different questions, different outcomes. There is another hidden advantage to patience. It protects you from manipulation. Many poor decisions are created through urgency, limited time, act now, last chance, fear of missing out, pressure, scarcity. The patient person becomes difficult to manipulate because they are willing to wait. And waiting reveals information. The emotional intensity fades. The facts become clearer. The quality of the decision improves. This is why patience is not weakness. Patience is power. The ability to remain calm when everyone else feels rushed creates enormous advantage, especially in business, especially in investing, especially in life. If these words resonate with you, take a moment to think about one area of your life where patience has already rewarded you. Sometimes, looking backward reminds us that many of the best things in life took longer than expected. Now, there is another millionaire habit that few people discuss, a habit that has little to do with money directly. Yet it influences almost every financial outcome. It is the habit of protecting your environment. Because whether we realize it or not, the people around us influence our thinking, our standards, our habits, and ultimately, our future. And the next chapter begins with a difficult truth. Sometimes the most expensive thing in your life is not what you buy. Sometimes it is what you tolerate. Chapter 6. The cost of what you tolerate. The fastest way to change your financial future is not always to earn more. Sometimes it is to raise your standards. That sounds simple. Yet it changes everything, because every person is constantly teaching the world what they are willing to tolerate. Poor habits, poor environments, poor thinking, poor relationships, poor treatment, poor discipline, poor expectations. And what we tolerate consistently becomes our normal. That is why this millionaire habit is so powerful. Wealthy thinkers are often ruthless about one thing, not people, standards. They understand that life quietly moves toward the level of what you accept. If you accept constant distraction, distraction becomes normal. If you accept financial chaos, chaos becomes normal. If you accept excuses, excuses become normal. If you accept mediocrity from yourself, mediocrity becomes normal. And normal eventually becomes destiny. Look around carefully. Every environment influences behavior. A healthy environment makes healthy habits easier. A productive environment makes productive habits easier. A focused environment makes focused thinking easier. The opposite is also true. The people around you matter more than most realize. Not because they determine your future, because they influence your perception of what is normal. If everyone around you complains, complaining feels normal. If everyone around you spends impulsively, spending impulsively feels normal. If everyone around you avoids responsibility, avoiding responsibility feels normal. Humans adapt. That is both our greatest strength and one of our greatest risks. We become like our surroundings faster than we realize. A young man once started working at a company where nearly everyone arrived early, prepared thoroughly, and took pride in their work. Within months, his standards increased. Nobody forced him. The environment influenced him. Years later, he joined another organization where lateness, excuses, and minimal effort were common. Something interesting happened. His standards began drifting downward. Again, nobody forced him. The environment influenced him. The lesson is important. Willpower matters. Environment matters too. The millionaire habit is intentionally choosing environments that pull you upward, not because growth becomes automatic, because growth becomes more likely. This applies to friendships as well. A difficult truth many people eventually discover is that not everyone can accompany you into your future. Some relationships encourage growth. Others resist it. Some people celebrate your progress. Others become uncomfortable when you change. Some conversations leave you energized. Others leave you exhausted. Pay attention to those differences. Energy is valuable. Attention is valuable. Time is valuable. Protecting them is a form of wealth. Now, this does not mean becoming arrogant. It does not mean judging people. It means becoming intentional. You can love people without adopting their habits. You can care about people without following their mindset. You can respect people without allowing them to determine your standards. The strongest individuals understand this balance. They remain kind. They remain compassionate. But they remain selective because they know something important. Every day is shaping them. Every conversation, every influence, every environment, every habit, every expectation, everything leaves a mark. The hidden millionaire pays attention to those marks. They ask questions many people never ask. What is this environment teaching me? What habits are becoming normal around me? What future am I moving toward if nothing changes? Those questions create awareness. Awareness creates choice. Choice creates transformation. There is another layer to standards that often goes unnoticed. Self-standards, the promises you make to yourself. Think about that for a moment. How many promises have you made to yourself over the years? I will start tomorrow. I will save more. I will get healthier. I will learn that skill. I will stop wasting time. I will finally commit. The promise itself is not the important part. The follow-through is. Because every promise kept strengthens identity. Every promise broken weakens trust. Eventually, a person develops a reputation with themselves, reliable or unreliable. That internal reputation affects everything. People often wonder why confidence disappears. One reason is simple. Confidence requires evidence. You trust yourself when you consistently do what you say you will do. You doubt yourself when you repeatedly abandon your own commitments. Millionaire habits frequently begin here, not in bank accounts, in self-respect. Because self-respect influences behavior. Behavior influences results. Results influence opportunity. Everything connects. The most powerful standards are often invisible. Nobody sees the book you read. Nobody sees the temptation you resisted. Nobody sees the extra hour you invested in learning. Nobody sees the disciplined decision made late at night when nobody is watching. Yet those moments accumulate quietly, powerfully, relentlessly. One of the great paradoxes of life is this. The things nobody sees often create the things everybody notices later. People see success. They rarely see preparation. People see confidence. They rarely see repetition. People see wealth. They rarely see restraint. People see results. They rarely see standards. The millionaire habit is falling in love with the invisible work, because invisible work eventually becomes visible outcomes. There is another important truth. Standards create boundaries. Boundaries protect growth. A person without boundaries becomes vulnerable to distraction, vulnerable to manipulation, vulnerable to chaos. Every meaningful goal requires some form of boundary, a boundary around time, a boundary around focus, a boundary around energy, a boundary around spending, a boundary around who receives access to your life. These boundaries are not limitations. They are protections. Just as walls protect a house, boundaries protect progress. Without them, everything becomes vulnerable. The modern world encourages unlimited access, unlimited information, unlimited opinions, unlimited interruptions, unlimited stimulation. Yet the most successful people often become more selective as they grow, not less. They learn the value of saying no. No to unnecessary commitments. No to distractions. No to environments that weaken them. No to opportunities that conflict with their priorities. Every meaningful yes requires meaningful no. That truth becomes clearer with age, because time becomes increasingly valuable. And once you understand the value of time, you become much more careful about how it is spent. If this chapter resonates with you, take a moment to think about one standard you need to raise in your life. One area where you've been accepting less than you know you're capable of. Sometimes a new life begins with a single higher standard. Now we arrive at a habit that quietly separates builders from dreamers. A habit responsible for more success than talent, more success than intelligence, more success than motivation. It is a habit that often feels boring, repetitive, and unremarkable while you're doing it. Yet over decades it becomes nearly unstoppable. Because in the next chapter, we are going to explore why consistency beats intensity almost every time, and why the people who win rarely rely on motivation at all. Friend, write your opinion on this topic in the comments. Do you agree with us or not? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Chapter 7. The Unseen Power of Consistency. The world loves dramatic stories, the overnight success, the sudden breakthrough, the unexpected victory, the viral moment, the instant transformation. Those stories capture attention because they feel exciting, but they often hide the truth. Behind almost every remarkable outcome is an ordinary habit repeated far longer than most people were willing to repeat it. That habit is consistency. And consistency may be the most underestimated millionaire habit of all, not because people disagree with it, because people underestimate its power. Consistency feels too simple, too ordinary, too slow. Human nature is attracted to intensity. Intensity feels productive. Intensity creates emotion. Intensity creates momentum. But consistency creates results. Think about a river. A river does not cut through rock because it is powerful for one day. It cuts through rock because it is persistent for thousands of days. The millionaire habit is becoming the river, steady, patient, relentless, moving forward whether applause exists or not. One of the biggest misunderstandings about success is the belief that motivation creates achievement. Motivation is wonderful, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Some mornings it arrives. Some mornings it disappears. If your future depends entirely on motivation, your future becomes unstable. Consistency is different. Consistency does not ask how you feel. Consistency asks what needs to be done. Then it does it again and again and again. This is why ordinary actions become extraordinary over time. A single workout changes very little. Hundreds change a body. A single page changes very little. Thousands change a mind. A single investment changes very little. Years of investing can change a life. The power is not in the action. The power is in the repetition. The wealthy understand this instinctively. They know that greatness rarely arrives through isolated effort. It arrives through accumulated effort. A musician practices scales. A writer writes pages. An athlete trains. An entrepreneur solves problems. A leader develops judgment. Day after day, often without visible reward. What separates them from everyone else is not perfection. It is continuation. They continue. When excitement fades, when progress slows, when recognition disappears, when results remain invisible, they continue. That word matters more than most people realize. Continue. Many dreams fail not because people lack ability. They fail because people stop too early. The first obstacle appears. The first disappointment arrives. The first setback hurts. And suddenly, a long-term vision is abandoned because of a short-term emotion. The millionaire habit is learning not to quit during temporary discomfort, not stubbornly pursuing every idea forever, persisting long enough to allow meaningful results to emerge. There is a season in every worthwhile journey where progress becomes difficult to measure. This season frustrates most people because human beings like evidence. We like proof. We like confirmation. But growth often happens underground before it appears above ground. Imagine a person learning a new skill. For weeks, they feel awkward, slow, uncertain. They question themselves. They wonder if improvement is happening. Then one day, something clicks. Others call it talent. They call it a breakthrough. But the breakthrough was built by invisible consistency. That invisible period matters. In fact, it may matter most because it reveals character. Anyone can continue when rewards are obvious. The question is, who continues when rewards are invisible? That is where futures are often decided. There is another reason consistency is so powerful. It reduces decision fatigue. Many people waste enormous energy deciding whether they should do something. Consistent people remove the debate. They simply act. The runner runs. The reader reads. The saver saves. The learner learns. The action becomes part of identity, and identity is stronger than motivation. A person who sees themselves as someone who exercises does not negotiate every workout. A person who sees themselves as someone who learns does not negotiate every study session. A person who sees themselves as someone who builds wealth does not negotiate every financial decision. Identity simplifies action. Action strengthens identity. The cycle reinforces itself. This is one reason millionaire habits matter. They are not merely behaviors. They are identity builders. Every habit casts a vote for the person you are becoming. The vote may seem insignificant today, but votes accumulate. Eventually, an identity emerges. Reliable, focused, disciplined, patient, intentional. Those qualities create opportunities that money alone cannot buy. Because people trust consistency. Employers trust it. Clients trust it. Partners trust it. Investors trust it. Friends trust it. Families trust it. Consistency creates credibility, and credibility creates leverage. A person known for showing up becomes valuable. A person known for following through becomes valuable. A person known for doing what they say becomes valuable. The marketplace rewards those qualities repeatedly, not always immediately. Eventually. There is that word again, eventually. The people who think long-term become comfortable with eventually, not because they enjoy waiting, because they understand reality. Reality rewards accumulation. A tree grows eventually. Trust grows eventually. Mastery grows eventually. Freedom grows eventually. Wealth grows eventually. The challenge is surviving long enough to reach eventually. That requires consistency. Not brilliance, not perfection. Consistency. A fascinating observation emerges when you study people who quietly achieve remarkable things. Many of them are not obsessed with outcomes. They are obsessed with systems. Outcomes fluctuate. Systems endure. If you focus only on outcomes, discouragement becomes likely. If you focus on systems, progress becomes inevitable. For example, a person might set a goal to save a large amount of money. That goal matters, but the daily system matters more. Track spending, save automatically, learn continuously, avoid unnecessary debt, invest regularly. The system produces the outcome. The outcome rarely produces the system. This distinction changes everything. The millionaire habit is trusting systems more than moods, trusting routines more than motivation, trusting process more than excitement. Because excitement fades, systems remain. Imagine two individuals beginning the same journey. One relies on bursts of inspiration, the other relies on consistent habits. The first starts faster, the second finishes stronger. Again and again this pattern appears. Because life is not a sprint. It is a marathon disguised as ordinary days. And ordinary days are where consistency wins. If this chapter resonates with you, tell me one habit you are committed to strengthening this year. Sometimes speaking a commitment aloud transforms it from a wish into a promise. Now consistency creates momentum. But there is another millionaire habit that creates something equally important: perspective. Because one of the greatest financial advantages a person can develop is the ability to think differently about time itself. Most people spend their lives trading hours for dollars. A few learn how to make time work for them. And that shift changes everything. In the next chapter, we are going to explore why millionaires often value time more than money, and why understanding this principle can completely transform the way you make decisions. Because money can return. Time never does. And the people who truly understand that begin living in a very different way. Chapter 8. The Millionaire Relationship with Time. The moment a person begins valuing time more than appearances, their life starts moving in a different direction. Not overnight, not dramatically, quietly, but unmistakably. Because time is the one resource distributed equally to everyone and returned to no one. A billionaire cannot purchase yesterday. A millionaire cannot buy back a wasted decade. A successful entrepreneur cannot negotiate for an extra year that has already passed. Time remains undefeated, yet many people treat it as though it is unlimited. They spend it casually. They delay important conversations. They postpone meaningful goals. They assume there will always be another opportunity, another month, another year, another chance. Sometimes there is. Sometimes there isn't. The hidden millionaire habit is developing a profound respect for time long before wealth arrives, not becoming obsessed with productivity, not rushing through life, respecting the value of each day. Because every day is making deposits or withdrawals from your future. There is a question wealthy thinkers often ask that others rarely consider. What is the opportunity cost? In simple terms, if I choose this, what am I giving up? Every choice carries a hidden price, not only financial, temporal. When you spend an hour scrolling, that hour cannot be invested elsewhere. When you commit to something unnecessary, that time cannot be spent building something meaningful. When you stay trapped in habits that no longer serve you, you are spending future possibilities. Time is always being exchanged. The question is whether the exchange is worth it. Imagine someone receiving an unexpected bonus of $10,000. Most people immediately recognize its value. Now imagine receiving 10 extra years of healthy life. Which is worth more? The answer seems obvious. Yet many people protect money more carefully than they protect time. They compare prices, negotiate costs, research purchases. While casually losing hours every day, hours become days, days become years, years become lives. The millionaire habit is understanding that time compounds more powerfully than money, because time can create money. Money cannot create more time. That distinction changes priorities. It changes decision-making. It changes relationships. It changes how opportunities are evaluated. A fascinating thing happens when people begin understanding the true value of time. Their standards rise. Suddenly, unnecessary drama becomes expensive. Constant distraction becomes expensive. Meaningless arguments become expensive. Toxic environments become expensive. Not because money is being lost, life is, and life is far more valuable. The wealthy often become highly selective about where their attention and time are invested, not because they think they are better than others, because they understand scarcity. Every yes costs something. Every commitment occupies space. Every obligation requires energy. Eventually, a person realizes they cannot do everything. The goal becomes doing the right things exceptionally well. This is why many successful people become comfortable disappointing others occasionally, not through selfishness, through clarity. They understand that protecting priorities requires boundaries. Without boundaries, life becomes a collection of other people's expectations. With boundaries, life becomes intentional. Consider a gardener. A gardener cannot allow every plant to grow everywhere. Choices must be made, space must be protected, resources must be directed. Otherwise, the garden becomes overcrowded. Life works similarly. The millionaire habit is pruning, removing what no longer serves the larger vision. Sometimes this means habits. Sometimes this means commitments. Sometimes this means distractions. Sometimes this means outdated identities. Growth often requires subtraction before addition. Many people ask how to fit more into their lives. A better question is often, what should be removed? Because space creates possibility. A schedule crowded with low-value activities leaves little room for high-value opportunities. A mind crowded with noise leaves little room for insight. A life crowded with obligations leaves little room for growth. Space matters, and space is created intentionally. There is another aspect of time that wealthy thinkers understand deeply: the relationship between short-term pleasure and long-term fulfillment. These are not always the same thing. Short-term pleasure feels good immediately. Long-term fulfillment often requires effort first. Learning a skill, building a business, strengthening a relationship, improving health, developing character. These things rarely provide instant rewards, yet they often provide lasting satisfaction. The millionaire habit is becoming willing to endure temporary discomfort in pursuit of lasting fulfillment, not because discomfort is noble, because meaningful things usually require investment. A musician invests years. A master craftsman invests decades. A great parent invests daily. An exceptional leader invests continuously. Everything valuable requires time. The question becomes whether we are investing time intentionally or spending it accidentally. One creates assets, the other creates regret. There is a phrase that becomes more powerful with age. The days are long, but the years are short. When you're young, a year feels enormous. As life progresses, years begin passing with surprising speed. That realization can be unsettling or motivating because it reveals something important. Today matters, not in a dramatic sense, in a practical one. The small decisions made today become tomorrow's reality. The conversations, the habits, the learning, the discipline, the focus. Everything is quietly building something. The future is not arriving unexpectedly. It is being constructed right now, one ordinary day at a time. If these words resonate with you, I'd love to know where you're listening from and what goal you're currently building toward. One of the most inspiring things about this community is realizing that people across the world are walking different paths toward similar dreams. Now, understanding time creates wisdom, but there is another habit that creates opportunity, a habit hidden beneath almost every extraordinary achievement: curiosity. Because the people who build lasting wealth never stop learning. They never assume they know enough. They never allow success to become a reason to stop growing. And in the next chapter, we will explore why curiosity may be one of the most profitable habits a person can develop. Because fortunes are often built by people who remain students long after others believe they have become experts. If you like this audiobook, please give it a like. It will really help us promote the video. Chapter 9. The Millionaire Habit of Staying Curious. The day a person believes they have nothing left to learn is often the day their growth begins to slow, not because they suddenly become less intelligent, because they become less curious. And curiosity is one of the most valuable habits nobody sees. It doesn't make headlines. It doesn't create immediate applause. It doesn't look impressive from the outside. Yet behind many extraordinary lives is an ordinary habit. The habit of continuing to ask questions, continuing to learn, continuing to explore, continuing to remain teachable. The wealthiest people in the world often possess an unexpected quality. They are still students, even after success, even after recognition, even after achievement. They continue learning because they understand a simple truth. The world changes, technology changes, industries change, human behavior changes, opportunities change, and those who stop learning eventually find themselves trying to navigate a new world with an old map. We are living in a time where knowledge becomes outdated faster than at almost any point in history. Entire industries are transforming. Artificial intelligence is reshaping professions. Digital tools are creating opportunities that did not exist 5 years ago. New skills are becoming valuable. Old assumptions are becoming obsolete. In such an environment, curiosity becomes a competitive advantage. Not curiosity for entertainment, curiosity for growth. The millionaire habit is remaining interested in how things work, how businesses operate, how people think, how trends emerge, how value is created, how problems are solved. Because every answer begins with a question, and every breakthrough often begins with curiosity. Think back to childhood. Children ask questions constantly. Why? How? What if? Their minds are open, exploratory, flexible. Then something happens. Many adults become more concerned with appearing knowledgeable than becoming knowledgeable. They stop asking. They stop exploring. They stop wondering. And slowly, growth slows with them. The hidden millionaire never fully loses that childlike curiosity. Not immaturity. Wonder. A willingness to investigate. A willingness to admit they don't know everything. A willingness to learn from unexpected places. This matters because opportunities often hide inside unfamiliar territory. The person willing to learn discovers possibilities others overlook. A new skill, a new technology, a new market, a new perspective, a new solution, all because they remained curious. One of the most dangerous phrases in life is this: that's just the way things are. Curiosity challenges that phrase. Curiosity asks, is it? Could there be another way? What am I missing? What haven't I considered? Those questions open doors. Closed minds rarely notice doors. Open minds find them everywhere. There is another reason curiosity matters. It protects against arrogance. Arrogance is expensive, very expensive. Arrogance prevents learning. Arrogance ignores feedback. Arrogance dismisses warnings. Arrogance assumes certainty where uncertainty exists. History is filled with intelligent people who failed because they stopped listening. They stopped adapting. They stopped questioning. Success became a reason to stop learning, and that decision eventually became costly. The millionaire habit is remaining teachable, always. No matter how much progress has been made, no matter how much knowledge has been acquired. Because every person knows something you don't know. Every experience contains a lesson. Every challenge contains information. Every mistake contains instruction, if you're willing to learn. Some of the most valuable lessons arrive disguised as failures. At first, they feel painful, disappointing, frustrating. Then time passes, perspective grows, and suddenly what seemed like a setback reveals itself as an education. Many successful individuals can trace important breakthroughs back to moments that initially looked like failures. A rejected application, a lost job, a failed business, a disappointing investment, a difficult season. Curiosity transforms those experiences. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Curiosity asks, what can this teach me? That single shift changes everything. One question creates victimhood. The other creates growth. The event may be identical. The outcome becomes dramatically different. There is also a financial dimension to curiosity. Curious people tend to discover opportunities earlier, not because they are lucky, because they are paying attention. They read, they observe, they ask questions, they connect ideas, they explore trends. While others dismiss change, curious people investigate it. This often places them ahead of the curve. Not always, but often enough to matter. Think about how many fortunes have been built by people who noticed something before it became obvious. A shift in technology, a change in behavior, an emerging need, a new way of solving an old problem. Curiosity frequently appears before innovation, and innovation frequently appears before opportunity. That sequence matters. Curiosity, innovation, opportunity. The chain begins with a question. There is another hidden benefit to lifelong learning. It keeps the mind alive, flexible, adaptive, sharp. Many people assume aging automatically reduces growth. In reality, stagnation often reduces growth. People stop challenging themselves, stop learning, stop exploring, stop expanding, The mind becomes smaller because it is no longer being stretched. The millionaire habit is refusing to stop stretching, refusing to stop evolving, refusing to stop becoming. One of the most powerful investments you can ever make is in your ability to think. Not because knowledge guarantees wealth, because knowledge improves decisions. Improve decisions, improve outcomes, and outcomes shape futures. Every book, every conversation, every lesson, every skill, every insight becomes part of the decision-making process. The return may not appear immediately, but over years, the effect becomes remarkable. A mind exposed to thousands of quality ideas begins seeing possibilities differently, patterns differently, challenges differently, life differently, and different thinking often creates different results. If this chapter resonates with you, tell me about a book, lesson, or experience that changed the way you see the world. Sometimes, one idea arrives at exactly the right moment and quietly alters the course of a life. Now, curiosity helps you discover opportunity, but discovering opportunity is only part of the equation. The next challenge is recognizing value, because one of the most important millionaire habits is learning how to create value before expecting rewards. This principle sounds simple, yet it may be one of the most misunderstood ideas in the modern world, because many people focus on what they want to receive. The wealthy often focus first on what they can contribute, and that shift changes everything. The next chapter begins with a question that has quietly built countless fortunes. How can I become more valuable? Chapter 10. Become valuable before you become wealthy. One of the biggest financial misconceptions in the world is the belief that money arrives first and value arrives later. In reality, the opposite is usually true. Value comes first. Money follows. Not always immediately, not always fairly, but over long periods of time, value has a way of attracting opportunity, and opportunity has a way of attracting wealth. The millionaire habit nobody sees is the constant pursuit of becoming more useful, more capable, more skilled, more reliable, more adaptable, more valuable. This habit is rarely discussed because it lacks glamour. People prefer shortcuts, secrets, quick wins, life-changing hacks. But the marketplace tends to reward something much simpler: problem solvers. Think about nearly every successful business. At its core, it solves a problem. Transportation, communication, education, health, convenience, entertainment, security, efficiency. Every thriving enterprise exists because it creates value for someone. The same principle applies to individuals. The more problems you can solve, the more opportunities tend to find you. This is why becoming valuable is one of the safest long-term investments a person can make. Economic conditions may change, industries may change, technology may change, but people who consistently create value remain remarkably resilient. Because value is portable, a valuable skill can travel, a valuable mindset can adapt, a valuable reputation can open doors. Money can be lost, value can create more money. That distinction matters. Imagine two professionals. The first focuses primarily on getting paid. The second focuses primarily on becoming exceptional. Years pass. The first becomes frustrated when rewards do not arrive quickly. The second continues improving, learning, refining, growing. Eventually, something interesting happens. The marketplace begins noticing, not because the second person demanded attention, because value became difficult to ignore. This is one reason True wealth often feels delayed. People see the reward. They miss the preparation. A surgeon spends years learning. An architect studies for years. A pilot trains extensively. An entrepreneur acquires experience through countless mistakes. The visible success arrives later. The invisible value arrives first. The millionaire habit is respecting that process, not rushing it, not resenting it, understanding it. There is another powerful aspect of value creation. It shifts attention away from entitlement. Entitlement asks, what do I deserve? Value creation asks, what can I contribute? Those questions lead in very different directions. One waits. The other builds. One focuses on outcomes. The other focuses on inputs. One often creates frustration. The other often creates opportunity. This does not mean accepting unfair treatment. It means recognizing where influence exists. You may not control every outcome. You can control your development. You can control your effort. You can control your standards. You can control the value you bring into the world. And those controls are powerful, very powerful. A fascinating pattern emerges when you study highly successful people. Many spend years becoming excellent before expecting extraordinary rewards, not because they lack ambition, because they understand leverage. The more valuable you become, the more leverage you create. A skilled communicator has leverage. A trusted leader has leverage. A capable problem solver has leverage. A person with rare expertise has leverage. Leverage multiplies effort. That is why self-development often produces such remarkable returns. You are not merely acquiring knowledge, you are increasing leverage, increasing options, increasing possibilities, increasing future opportunities. The wealthy habit is asking different questions. Instead of asking, how can I make more money? They often ask, how can I become more valuable? Because the second question frequently answers the first. There is another reason this habit matters. It creates confidence, real confidence, not performative confidence, not social media confidence, earned confidence, the kind that develops when you know you can contribute meaningfully, the kind that survives setbacks, the kind that remains stable even when circumstances change, because it is built on competence. Competence creates confidence, and competence is created through repetition, learning, practice, experience, growth. That process is not glamorous, but it is reliable. The modern world sometimes encourages people to pursue visibility before value, to build an audience before expertise, to seek recognition before mastery. Yet sustainable success often moves in the opposite direction. Build value, build skill, build substance. Recognition may follow. Even if it doesn't immediately, the value remains, and value compounds. There is a beautiful freedom that comes from becoming useful. You stop depending entirely on circumstances. You stop feeling powerless. You begin carrying solutions instead of complaints. That shift changes relationships, careers, businesses, lives. People naturally gravitate toward those who create value. Teams need them. Companies need them. Communities need them. The marketplace rewards them. Perhaps not instantly. Eventually. Again, that word appears. Eventually. Many of the most important truths about wealth require patience. Value creation is one of them. Plant enough seeds, water them consistently, improve continuously, and eventually, harvest arrives. Maybe not on your preferred timeline, but often on a meaningful one. There is another perspective worth considering. Money is often a reflection, not a perfect reflection, but a reflection nonetheless. A reflection of value delivered, problem solved, trust earned, skills developed, risks managed, responsibilities handled. The reflection may not always be immediate, but over long periods, it tends to become clearer. This is why personal development is not separate from financial development. They are connected, deeply connected. The person you become influences the opportunities you attract, and the opportunities you attract influence the life you build. If this chapter resonates with you, share one skill you're currently working to improve. It's inspiring to see people investing in themselves because those investments often produce the greatest returns of all. Now, creating value helps generate opportunity. But there is another millionaire habit that determines whether opportunity becomes freedom. It is the habit of ownership, not merely owning assets. Owning responsibility, owning decisions, owning outcomes. Because the moment a person stops blaming and starts taking ownership, their entire life begins to change. And the next chapter begins with a truth that many people spend years avoiding. The quality of your future is strongly connected to the quality of responsibility you are willing to carry. Thank you. Goodbye.